your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready, go.
Provocative, engaging, and usually quite a lady.
Okay, they're asking for it.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right?
Well, you're right, sweetie. I'm not that concerned about your mental because your mental is a result of the physical that you did against one of your opponents on the track field. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Deborah Rowe podcast. That was the voice of Alayla Everett. By now, you've probably seen video of Alayla, who, by the way, is an outstanding athlete, according to all reports, a senior in high school, well liked and loved by her classmates and others. And now she is the focus of a lot of discussion, not only on social media, but people on television. Everybody's talking about this. She is the young lady who, on the track, she took her baton and she walloped one of her opponents, who then fell to the ground in agony. And consequently, her doctors say that she suffered a concussion and possibly even a fractured skull. It's a terrible, terrible thing. What Alayla Everett did is not too different from what we're seeing increasingly everywhere, especially in politics. In other words, I will do what I need to do in order to win. It doesn't matter who gets hurt, doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter if you believe me or if you don't. As long as I win, that's what's important. And sadly, this was on full display at that track meet. I watched a video of the parents of the young lady, Caitlin, who was the victim. Very reasonable people. Her mom made some excellent points, particularly the fact that when her daughter was struck, nobody came over. Nobody from the school said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? What happened?" The attacker, Alayla, her parents did apologize right away. Now, why did they apologize? Did they apologize because they knew that their daughter did something wrong? I don't think so. In fact, listening to the interview with her parents, they are adamantly refusing any ideas that their daughter did this on purpose. In fact, her mom said, "I don't care if you look at 1, 2, 10 videos. There's no way in the world she did this." But the point I'm making here is that her parents apologized. They apologized because they saw that another child, another person, was injured by their daughter's hand. That's the right thing to do. That's the decent thing to do. Interestingly enough, Alayla has not apologized. She claims that she has tried to do so on social media, but Caitlin has blocked her, so she can't apologize. And on that one, I'm calling BS. I also call BS on her explanation.
After a couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit.
Okay. That's the other part of this. Aside from people now just so desperate to win, to get their way, to do whatever it takes. And I don't mean that in a good way, like working harder, studying longer, arriving at work earlier, staying later. I don't mean that. I mean lie, steal, defame, slander. Doesn't matter as long as I win. There's the other component to that, and that is they expect us to believe whatever they say. Don't believe your lying eyes. You can't trust yourself. What you see is not what you saw. Now, I know that there are those who say, no, it was a mistake. And I don't know who they are, but I'm just imagining there are a few people out there who happen to believe that all of this was just a big mistake. I listened to a professional athletic director, something or another, and he said that, well, that happened because the victim here, she tried to change lanes, so to speak, but you're not supposed to do that unless you are one full length. I don't know anything about track, it's obvious, but in other words, she crossed over too soon, and that's how she got hit. Okay, if that's what the rules are, that's what the rules are, but we still have to go back to Alayla's explanation, and her explanation was, I lost my balance after a couple of, I thought she said hits. Her baton rolled up the girl's shirt, and when she tried to grab it, she slammed her in the head. Well, we clearly saw that none of that happened. But again, it doesn't matter because ultimately her goal is to have gotten away with it and not suffer any of the consequences of her actions. That's most important to her. But for those of you who happen to believe that, well, no, she would never do that, or you people are just looking for somebody to beat up on, in the grand scheme of things, her actions are deplorable. The school's actions, for that matter, also deplorable, because if you don't know what happened, and specifically for Alayla, you know that you hit her in the head, but yet you didn't apologize, hasn't said a word, claiming that on social media, I tried to apologize, but she blocked me. Well, here's the thing. I love what Caitlin, that's the victim, I love what her mom had to say.
Even if it was a fluke or freak accident, you still would check on her.
Of course you would check on her. Who wouldn't do that? And that's my second biggest gripe about this entire thing. Okay, you made a mistake, according to Alayla. Why wouldn't you at least go and see how she's doing? Even after the race, okay, continue running your race. But why not go over to her and say, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen to you. Are you okay? Can I get you some water? I mean, something, but it was nothing. Nothing at all. She's now worried about her mental. She said it, okay, you were physically hurt, okay, but you're not thinking about my mental. In Alayla's mind, she's the victim. That's her big problem. She's the victim. Totally self-absorbed. And in these past few days, we have seen some remarkable examples of self-absorption. And just incredible. I'm thinking about these people who are running around and vandalizing the Tesla dealerships. And I've watched them. It's just two types. The ones who are just standing out front and they're protesting, and that's okay with me. That's what we do as Americans. You can protest. They have their signs, they're picketing, they're driving by, they're honking their horns. They don't like Elon Musk, and we can get into that a little bit later. But then there are the other ones, and these are the domestic terrorists that the news media keep calling vandals. They are not vandals. If you're throwing Molotov cocktails, if you are shooting through the windows of a Tesla dealership, if you are burning the charging stations, you are a terrorist. And when I saw the story about the idiot that shot through the dealership's windows, one bullet went through a computer. Now, some might say, well, there was nobody in there. The dealership was closed. How does he know? How did he know that there wasn't someone working late that night, doing paperwork, sitting at his or her computer? Because that could have happened. And then we would have had a serious tragedy on our hand because somebody doesn't like Elon Musk. But they feel justified in what they're doing. They think it's okay. Well, Elon, he's a dictator. Nobody elected him to be the president. I got every right to do that. You have no right to do that. And again, people that cheer people on for doing things like this, you're also an idiot. It's okay because you feel good, you feel right, you feel justified. I don't like what he's doing. Okay, then don't like it. Get over there with the other people and protest. That's acceptable. But burning things, bombing things, shooting things up because I don't like him, not acceptable. As far as we know, this vandalism against Tesla dealerships started in northern Colorado. There was a man who pretends to be a woman. He goes by the name of Lucy Grace Nelson. He's actually Justin Nelson, a 42-year-old guy.
In technical terminology, he's a loon.
Who has on multiple times, he's gone over to a Tesla dealership. He has spray painted Nazi at the entranceway and has caused several fires there using Molotov cocktails. He was arrested. My understanding is that he has been released. Well, I don't like him. Okay, you're free to go. I mean, really. And then last week in Maryland, protesters, they gathered around. There was graffiti found there that read, "No Musk." And the graffiti was fashioned like a swastika. And that's okay because we don't like him. Also last week in Massachusetts, 7 Tesla charging stations were set on fire. I don't know if they even got the culprit there. 2 days later in Brookline, which is a suburb of Boston, 39-year-old Harrison Grant Randall, he vandalized several Tesla vehicles. No, he didn't say, "I don't like him." He said, "Hey, this is free speech. I've got a right to tear up those cars because I don't like him. It's my free speech." And this sounds crazy, but they are actually saying these things. And they're doing these things because they believe they're right, just like young Alayla did. She cracked the girl's skull because she wanted to win, and she thought she had the right to do it. This is what we're witnessing here. On that very same day that the idiot who claimed free speech was tearing up Tesla vehicles, in Portland, Oregon, that's when the 7 shots were fired through the window. Breaking glass, damaging things, didn't matter because he felt justified. Then the very next day, back in northern Colorado, the police reported there was arson at a Tesla dealership. And guess what? It was Mr. Free Speech. He was back again. He's back because whenever these radicals, whenever these domestic terrorists are upset about anything, they act out in very, very violent ways. They do this repeatedly because they know that nothing's going to happen to them. They know they can get away with it. We've seen over the years pro-life clinics, places where women go and get counseling so that they don't have an abortion. These places are frequently attacked. The buildings are defaced. The employees are threatened. And you know what? Nothing really happens. We can go back to the summer of riots after George Floyd's killing. There was mayhem all across the country. Buildings being burned, police being attacked, federal buildings being taken over, really. We even had over in Portland, Oregon, that one area, I can't even remember what they called it, and they may still be over there for all I know. These people were doing whatever they wanted to do. After the young man down in, East St. Louis, Michael Brown, after he was killed, shot by the police, and all of that was based on a lie. But after he was killed, there were riots, and Michael Brown's stepfather standing up on a car, imploring people to burn this bitch down. He was celebrated. He and his common-law wife, Michael's mom, they were on television, morning talk shows, being praised. This keeps happening whenever whenever domestic terrorists on the left are angry. They just act out violently, and they get away with it. Now is the appointed time. It really is. Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, the Justice Department, Kash Patel, the FBI, whoever, they have got to take a very aggressive approach to these people. Because the one incident that I can think about where people on the right have acted out was January 6th at the Capitol. And for all that we heard, and we know that much of what we heard was not true, it was not accurate, that yes, there were rioters out there. No, 6 police officers weren't killed. No, they weren't attacking police officers, but what we do know, they went to prison. They sat in jail waiting years for trials. The FBI, they fanned out across the country and they searched, they hunted them down. I'm not talking about let's do tit for tat. It's not about that. But if we're going to maintain a fair and civil society, we have to stop these people. Every other day, we're turning on the news. Another Tesla dealership has been vandalized, burning. These people are crazy, and it's all in an effort to stop Elon Musk. They think that they can financially break him. And yes, the Tesla stock has been hurt significantly. You have people, threatening other people that are driving Teslas. This is insane. And I am as serious as you can be. They had better put a stop to this because it's just going to get increasingly worse. If they feel they can get away with it, if they get this sympathetic treatment in the media, if they have no politicians really speaking out about it, they'll continue to do it. And you know what's going to happen? Today, it'll be Tesla. Next time, it'll be some other organization that they don't like, and it'll just continue to happen. We saw this summer with groups of people pulling down statues and being justified. And then these weak-kneed politicians like Lori Lightfoot, when she was mayor of Chicago, basically condoning it and saying, well, you know what? Yeah, let's take down that Columbus statue. It makes people upset. No, you push back and you charge them and you put them in prison.
I know that's right.
Think about Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione shot a man. He shot him dead because he didn't like what he was doing. He didn't like the fact that he ran a healthcare company and insurance is not fair. Well, no, sometimes insurance isn't fair, but you just don't go out and shoot somebody because I don't like him. And what does he get in return? Quasi-celebrity status. Yeah, that's exactly what he got. Now, the law is going to take care of him for sure, but the public, oh my God, he's so cute. This punk with a smirk on his face, he's being celebrated. And this is where we are really starting to go down an ugly, ugly path. Anytime we have a vice president on national television, as was Kamala Harris on Stephen Colbert's show, saying that she hoped that the rioters didn't stop and that she was asking people to donate money to help their cause. A sitting vice president. It's still crazy to me when I think about that. It was so clear that there was an incredible bias during the Biden administration against conservatives, against pro-family types, basically against anybody that wasn't on the left. That was wrong. This is the time we have to correct this, and we have to do so in a very, very forceful way, because if we don't send the clear message that this will not be tolerated, we're only going to see more of it. So we have a chance now to put this stuff in check. Now, when I tell you that things are not going to get better, I should also add that they can't get better because you have lots of people, specifically lots of elected officials, who are out there and they are stoking hatred. What they are attempting to do, and they will never ever say that this is what they're doing, but it is exactly what they are doing. They are attempting to trigger an unstable person to come after Elon Musk. That's what they're doing. They're standing out on the streets, in interviews, repeatedly, any chance that they get. They are demonizing Elon Musk. This is what they are hoping. They are hoping that a nutbag like the ones that are burning Tesla dealerships, charging stations, coming after Elon Musk in all sorts of ways, they're hoping that they can get to just the right person, that their words will fall on the ears of just the right unstable person, and they make an attempt to harm him. And you say, now you're going too far, Deborah. No, actually, I'm not. Because if you just think back just a few short months ago, President Trump was being called Hitler, a fascist, a Nazi, repeatedly. I remember on MSNBC during a part of the Republican convention, they were making comparisons to some big Nazi event back in the 1940s under Hitler. Whatever you do, don't give them too much credit. Don't say to yourself, oh, they would never do this. This is just politics. Nobody is that evil. Well, look at it this way. I'm not comparing a Layla to these politicians, but Her desire to win that track meet was so strong that she felt it was okay to do whatever she needed to do to win. These politicians know full well that during the last presidential campaign, they kept stoking the same ideology into the minds of whoever was weak enough to buy into it. And what did they get out of that? They got 2 attempts on President Trump's life. This is real. We know that they knew that they had some culpability because some of them actually said that they would cool the language, that they would tone it down some. Even President Biden, he said it, but then he turned around like the next day and engaged in the same behavior. But the point is, they are well aware that in this open society that we have, with all of our freedoms that we have, there are weak-minded people. People who will get up and go out in the middle of the night and take Molotov cocktails and burn a person's business down, several locations down, shoot through the dealership, not knowing if anybody is there or not because I don't like him. We have to get rid of him. We have to win. That's in the mind. And this is what they're doing. They're planting seeds. I want you to take a listen to this short montage that I've put together, and you see for yourself.
The CFPB is there to make sure that Elon's new project can't scam you or steal your sensitive personal data.
Tell me how letting Elon put his paws in a cookie jar is helping a single person who calls this country home.
A rally a day keeps the fascists away.
We won't stop until Elon Musk and his Doge cronies are kicked out of every federal agency.
We will not take this. We will fight back. Fight back. Fight back. And as I close out, because I know we've been out here for a long time, and goddamn it, shut down the Senate. We are at war. Elon Musk is a Nazi nepo baby. We are not going to make America great again by making America hate again. We are going to stand and fight all across America. People are knocked down, but they are getting up, and they are going to fight the dictator of Donald Trump and his henchman, Elon Musk.
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your asses, and we are going to make sure. We're going to make sure you understand what democracy looks like. This ain't it.
We have got to tell Elon Musk, nobody elected your ass.
He's also harming the American public in an enormous way. And what I think is really important, and what the American public want, is for us to bring actual weapons to this bar fight. This is an actual fight for democracy.
The apparent ringleader of all the constitutional mayhem is a reported father of 12, a formerly deportable undocumented immigrant who worked illegally in the country and is apparently part of a loose network of Silicon Valley billionaires who oppose American constitutional democracy and openly favor creation of a monarchical techno-state under their control.
And that's just a tiny sample of all of the hot language that is being used to describe Elon Musk and the work that he is doing with Doge. So, if Alayla, the young track star, if she wanted to win that race so badly that she would clunk an opponent across the head with a baton just to win a race, what in the world do you think these people are up to? In that montage, there was Jamie Raskin, there was, what's that girl, Jasmine Crockett. There were several of them well known that you know. Crockett is new, but others like Maxine Waters, she was in there. They've been in Congress for years. And you know what? Some of them are multi-millionaires. Are you going to tell me you walk into Congress, average Joe? What has Crockett been in there, 2 years, 3 years? There are reports she's worth like $9 million. You think they wouldn't do whatever they need to do so that there is no transparency, so that they can waste what they want and take what they want? Of course they would. What do you think all of this fight is about? Why do you think they hate Elon so much? They used to love Elon. We all know that. They are all on this climate scheme, this green scheme. Well, Elon was the dad of electric cars, so of course they loved him. That is until he got with Donald Trump and he established Doge, and now he's pulling the curtain back, and they are not going to tolerate it. In the final segment of today's podcast, I have a treat for you. You probably have already enjoyed it on some levels, but I just have to share with you the way I felt when I first experienced this. Now, hear me out. When President Trump was doing his speech from about a week and a half ago, when my husband and I, we were watching the speech, and when President Trump said the words that I'm going to share with you in just a moment, I literally said this when I heard him say what you'll hear him say again. I turned to my husband and I said, "Oh my God." He said, "What?" I said, "Oh my goodness, President Trump is winding it up." I said, "He is about to throw them a mad curveball." I said, "He is setting them up." Oh my goodness, this is just the way I felt. I was exhilarated. So let me play for you the president's words again.
This is my fifth such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way. So Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
Oh my gosh, that was just so delicious. It was just so good. It was good because you know that President Trump, he knew full well what was on the agenda for that night. But the thing about it is, so did they. But what they weren't expecting was that President Trump would get the jump on them. Let me put it this way. He obviously knew that he would be honoring several people that night. The Democrats knew that too. But here's the problem. They'd been sitting in the audience holding up their little signs, Musk steals and blah, 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 and they had committed themselves to defiance that night. They wanted to portray to their audience, to their voters, that we're standing strong against Trump. We are the fighters. I think that, but I also think that whoever manages these Democrats, and clearly somebody is managing them. Even from President Biden, he was being managed. Their handlers had already given them their directives. You don't make this guy look good. You don't support what he's saying. You will be silent. You will show defiance, opposition. You will show America that you are fighting against this guy. Okay, we got that set. But what happens is, and this is important too, because I actually think this was also a part of this whole inner working. When the Congressman Al Green got up, I think, and I really do believe this, I think he got cold feet. Or I think that he was like, I may not be able to weather this one. So what he did, so he could make his contribution, he stood up and he shook his cane and he was mumbling something or another, and to be defiant, because he knew that if he kept doing that, he would be asked to leave. And that's what he wanted. Al Green wanted to be removed from that scene. Now, President Trump, he goes on and he begins, talking about all the things that he's done as he would do. But when he got to the part where he started honoring the various people that were the guests that night, the family members of Laken Riley, the family members of Jocelyn Nergare, both of those young women, the girl and the young woman, Laken, they were killed by illegal aliens, and he had special honors for each of them. That was heartwarming that the president cared that much, that the nation still remembered what happened. They wouldn't clap. They didn't do that. When the wife or the widow, the children of Corey Compatore, who was, of course, killed at Trump's rally in Butler, they didn't clap. Who wouldn't clap for them? Mark Fogel and his 94-year-old mom. Well, of course, President Trump had helped to negotiate the release of Fogel from the Russian prison. Here he sits with his 94-year-old mother, who Trump had promised he was going to do all that he could to help. Whether you want to give Trump any credit, that really should have been set aside. We have an American who had been freed from Putin's Russia, from the prison. Nothing. Just stone-faced, sitting on their hands. And then, of course, there were several others, but the one I think that hurt them most, other than Laken Riley and Jocelyn, was little DJ Daniel, the 13-year-old cancer patient, his brain cancer. He still has brain cancer. He's not a survivor. Well, he's surviving, but he has brain cancer. He's been honored by multiple police departments. And when the president said he's directed his head of the Secret Service to make him an honorary Secret Service agent, man, you just were... The look on DJ's face alone, it was so heartwarming. It was inspiring to see this kid who actually doctors had only given him, 5 months to live a few years ago. This kid is a fighter. Yet they sat there. I don't care. So what? It was amazing because President Trump dared them. That's what he was really doing. I dare you to just sit there. He was testing them. And they knew, goodness gracious, what is he doing? Because if you even go back and look at that video, when President Trump is saying what he said to them about they would never clap for anything he's done, they started looking at each other because they knew they had a decision to make. And it was a horrible outcome no matter what happened. If they clapped, then the handlers would be mad, and some voters may be a little upset, but most people wouldn't have minded that. And then Al Green said, I'm out of here. He said, I am out of here. I loved that moment. I truly, truly did. A lot of people say, Trump, he's a gangster. I don't call him a gangster. He's a tough guy. He's a president. But you know what? That was a gangster move.